Hello and welcome to the Authentic Life Podcast. I'm Garrett DiBiase, and I am absolutely thrilled to bring you this first episode of the Authentic Life Podcast. And this is a project that I've begun because I am absolutely fascinated by this subject of living an authentic life. And I'll get into how I define authenticity and how that shows up in your everyday life. But I want to begin by explaining the overall purpose for this podcast and what I hope you as the listener and viewer will benefit and get out of this. And the pain that I'm looking to target here and solve is that of soul pain. And soul pain is simply the sensation you get in your body, in your mind, in your heart, obviously in your soul, that lets you know that there is something yet still for you to do in your daily life. There's some part of you that needs to be expressed. There's a talent, a dream, an ability that you know that only you can do in a very special and unique way. And the soul pain that we feel is the recognition that that is not being met somehow. There's more to give, there's more to serve, there's more to you than what you're showing to the world. And so if you're like me, you sometimes will catch yourself staring out the window or daydreaming or journaling or just imagining how your life can be to the fullest extent that you're aware of. And that kicked off a 30-month journey for me. I was working my construction business. I was in a 4-year romantic relationship. And it just really became apparent to me that even though my life at that time was of my own making and of my own design, it was still a reaction to conditioning and to societal norms and what I thought success would look and feel like. And I decided to divest from that business and the relationship and begin a self-exploration journey, really to take on the hero's journey, as Joseph Campbell put it, where I moved back to my hometown and started over from scratch. And I was determined that the next project, the next thing I did, would be fully authentic. Because I just could not live with that nagging soul pain any longer. And if you find yourself constantly needing a distraction or needing some form of coping mechanism to deal with ongoing stress or anxiety or depression or discomfort relating to this, then I would definitely encourage you to sit with yourself for a moment and really decide to what degree you're still living with that soul pain. And it's an uncomfortable inquiry at times, but it's absolutely necessary. Just take a moment, take a deep breath, tune in with yourself, and look inward and see if there is a project, a dream, some form of creative expression that has not been brought to the surface yet, that is still a bit of an unknown quantity. What is that deep treasure inside, that spark of uniqueness that is your own? And so as you contemplate that, I want to jump into how I'm using the word authenticity, which is coming from the word author. Authenticity is derived from the word author, which is to create or write out, to be the progenitor or the creator of a piece of work. In this case, your life. And I would ask you if you are authoring your life, or is the script of your life being written for you by institutions, work, family, society, religion, you name it. In other words, are you taking your life off of a provided menu? Are you looking at the menu of life and picking what feels the best? Or are you choosing to go off the menu to create a life that is yours and yours alone? Are you choosing to write your own story? And this is a simultaneously encouraging and intimidating prospect. On one hand, you have the freedom to create and succeed, and then you also have the freedom to fail. But that is the crux of the issue. Now, Friedrich Nietzsche called this concept the Übermensch, which was the individual who was willing to take the hits, to take the defeats and discomforts of striving for their ultimate potential, their ultimate expression, as opposed to the last man, as he put it, whose sole aim was to avoid discomfort. And this idea of the hero's journey of self-electing and volunteering to pursue the more difficult path is the heart of authenticity. Another definition for authentic is the real thing, not a replica, but the real authentic item. Are you a replica of your parents, of your school, of your workplace, of your religion? Are you a replication of an idea that was never yours to begin with? This isn't to say that you can't assimilate and adopt concepts that build you up and develop you. This is saying, have you wholesale taken your identity from something external? Or are you the real version of yourself, devoid and cleaned of all the conditioning that we accumulate through this life? And those are some questions that I want you to sit with and really ponder. It might take a few moments to clear the clutter in the mind and think back at certain moments in your life that were developmental crossroads, and look at the decisions that you've made. But sit with these questions. Am I living a life that was handed to me, that was provided off of the menu? Am I doing the thing only I can uniquely do? Am I feeling the ongoing daily soul pain of unrealized potential? The soul pain of not creatively expressing myself. And just feel that energy. Is it loud and clear at the surface, begging to be solved and answered, or is that soul pain deeper in? Is it a concept that you haven't really visited often? And so that is the primary problem I seek to solve with this information and this podcast, is to help individuals end the soul pain that comes from living inauthentically, to help them engage with their soul's longing. The longing of your soul. What, if you knew you couldn't fail, you would seek out to do? What is the best version of yourself? I heard one person put it that heaven is dying and seeing the person that you could have been and there be little to no difference. As opposed to hell being when you die, you meet that person and you're indistinguishable. We'll put it this way, you are distinguishable. You cannot even be compared. You're too different. And so we look at this process of self-discovery and decide that we are here on this planet with a unique set of talents and abilities. Even deeper than your personality and your preferences are your gifts and talents. And it reminds me of the biblical parable of the master who leaves his 3 servants with a certain amount of wealth. They're actually called talents in the story, these coins, but each servant does something different. They invest it one way or another, except for the 3rd servant who simply buries his talents, buries the wealth. And that is the servant that the master rebukes. That servant essentially failed the mission, failed the task given to him, which was to go out and make something of those resources, to multiply, to put to use those talents, those abilities, and those gifts. There's a saying that I really love, and it's asking, what is the richest place in any city? In any town or village, where is the most wealth kept? And the riddle is, it's the graveyard. The graveyard is the richest place in any city. Why is that? Because most people take their best ideas, their best talents, their dreams to the grave with them. They don't actualize it. They don't put it out into the world. Why not? Fear of failure. Fear that the effort will be so great, and what if it fails? What if you're ridiculed? And it can be difficult to appreciate the magnitude of putting those ideas and talents out there versus the immediate short-term discomfort. But this podcast is to encourage you that it's worth the endeavor. It's worth that effort. It's worth getting out from under the soul pain and no longer having to distract or cope from that pain. Distracting yourself, coping in various ways to help you ignore your soul's longing. And I want to encourage you to start leaning the other way. To lean into your soul's longing, to discover it, to investigate and explore, to venture out into the realm of uncertainty, into the realm of chaos, and boldly explore and experience the true core essence that you are. And so this first episode is to really drive the knife deep, to really press on that nerve, and to bring to your full attention the level of soul pain that you are currently living with, the soul pain of not expressing your true, unique self. The creative expression that is within you. The form of authentic service and leadership that only you can provide. Is that something that nags at you on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, on an hourly basis? And I have to say that this information really is not for everybody. The sad truth is most people prefer to avoid discomfort than pursue authenticity. And why is that? It's because if we're authentic, then people might reject us. Dr. Gabor Mate has incredible information on this and essentially talks about how we give up our authenticity for the sake of remaining in relationship with people. And you see this with parents and siblings, co-workers and friends, where we change aspects of ourselves, or we adapt, and we minimize or maximize, somehow contort ourselves in a way to fit with the expectation and the norms of that group. And it makes sense because in the early days, all you had was the 150 people in your tribe or your family unit, your clan, whatever it happened to be. And that's still the case today, where relationships are still vitally important. But because of the ability to travel and meet new people and the internet, which connects us to anyone on the globe, satellites and technology, we're able to find people that we can be fully authentic with. We're able to engage in projects that are our unique expression, uniquely us. So with these advents of technology and opportunity, I would encourage you to raise your hand and make yourself known. Start a Facebook group, go to local events, whatever you need to do to champion yourself and let others enjoy and benefit from your authenticity. Because I want to tell you that your authentic service is needed. It's necessary in this world. It's absolutely necessary. And I want to conclude this podcast with my favorite quote. It was the quote that I selected as a senior in high school, in fact, and it stayed with me this whole time. It's by Howard Thurman. And it goes like this: do not ask what the world needs. Rather, ask yourself what makes you come alive. And go and do that. Because what the world needs are people who have come alive. And this is why I say that do not just settle for a life that was on the menu. Whatever your degree was in, whatever your current occupation is. I hear people say, before you start a business, look at what the market is already asking for, already paying for. And there's a lot of truth to that, but I don't think that is the definitive closed-end truth. I would encourage you to go and make the market. Go and create the demand for your authenticity, because I can tell you that the world needs and craves you to be alive. To be fully alive, fully expressed. Because the market will always pay for a 10 out of a 10. And that's what your uniqueness is. Your genuine authenticity is your 10 out of 10 version of yourself. And the market will always pay for a 10 out of 10. So don't be discouraged or wonder if your idea will make money or will be accepted or will be valued. I can assure you that your authentic service will be extremely valued. So go out and create the market for yourself and watch the reception. Watch how the market responds. Same goes for your family or your social group. Create the new demand for your authentic self. And if some people aren't that enthusiastic about it, that's okay. Because it lets you know who supports your authenticity and who does not. And for those who do not, you still love them, you still have grace for them, but you choose to prioritize your authenticity over their perspective or feelings on it. And what's great is new people will come into your life who absolutely love the authentic you. And thus you are creating that market for the authentic version of yourself, the true uniqueness, the joy that comes from expressing your uniqueness. And that's how you know that your soul's longing is being met, is you feel the joy of the truth of your creative expression. It's apparent in your life. The truth of your uniqueness brings fundamental joy. Are you waking up in the morning and the first thought is yes? Yes, another beautiful day of my own authoring. Or when you wake up in the morning, is it, oh, bummer. Oh, bummer. Another day living on the menu. Another day of predictable failure. Am I comfortable? Sure. But am I bringing my best riches to the grave? Ask yourself, if this day were to be your last day, how much of those riches would you take to the grave with you? Or are you leaving it all on the table? Are you full out on the court of life, giving your best to shine your uniqueness across the world? It doesn't have to be in grandiose ways. It can be small acts of authentic service. It can be volunteering at the local animal shelter. It can be cooking a meal for your family and friends. But what I've come to find is that it becomes a cornerstone of your life. It's not just a hobby. It is not some passive activity that you get to every once in a while. It is the cornerstone. It is what defines your life. It is what you build your life on. It is the source of your joy. And if that's not something tangible that you can wrap both arms around and broadcast to the world, then this podcast is for you, so that you can delve into your soul's longing and end the agonizing soul pain of not living the life you were meant to. And so I'm excited about rolling out this podcast. I know it's going to be a blessing to many, many people. To learn more about myself and the work I'm doing, I would encourage you to go to awakentoyourdream.com. That's awakentoyourdream.com. And there you'll find a link where you can hop on my calendar for a brief meet and greet call. I'd love to meet you and get to know you and talk about these concepts a little more deeply with you. I also offer a 24-week coaching program where I work with you every single week to flesh out these issues, to dive into your personal soul's longing and bring that to the surface. It's an amazing program. I'm very excited about bringing this to the broader public. So check me out at awakentoyourdream.com and stay tuned for more amazing episodes. Thank you very much.